Hey guys, Scott here, and today I wanted to talk about tournaments in Dead by Daylight. This game has really not ever seen any actual competitive, non-joking tournaments in its entire history, and it's not because people don't want to. The game itself is designed in such a way to make determining skill through tournaments nearly impossible for several reasons. Before I begin, I want to say I actually completely support people actually trying to make tournaments a reality. I would absolutely love a day where I could commentate a legitimate Dead by Daylight tournament. I've hosted several multi-$1,000 tournaments for Dark Souls and For Honor 2 games that have no business having actual competitive tournaments, but even in those games I felt it was at least somewhat possible to a small extent. I feel absolutely none of that with Dead by Daylight, and it's not even something players themselves can actually try to band-aid. It's mostly all on the devs. The main reason competitive tournaments cannot work in DBD is RNG, or random number generation. Almost every map in the game is randomly generated, save for a few maps like Hawkins and Midwich, which in themselves I think are pretty bad maps to play on. Now, you could have two teams play on the exact same map and have wildly different setups. Even simple rotations of tiles that place a window on a more beneficial side can completely determine the outcome of a match. That's pretty much it. I could end the video right now. That reason alone is enough to completely negate any type of skill-based tournament, because the maps themselves are dependent purely on luck, which you cannot have in a tournament, and there is nothing the host can do to mitigate this. There are still many other reasons tournaments can't work, but I want to make it clear that even if every single one of those reasons were corrected, this problem alone would completely ruin any tournament. So how do you fix that? Well, it's actually kind of easy. The developers need to let the host of a lobby customize a map seed, which is the random set of variables that determine the placement of everything in the map. That's basically it. If the map seed is customized, the map played will actually be completely identical, and thus all RNG is completely removed from that situation. This should be easy to implement, as you can actually already see the map seed when you open your menu during a lobby. So it's a system that can be easily modified. Now with this change, there is no excuse for bad map RNG ruining a player's chances, as everyone is playing on the exact same map. This is by far the most crucial thing that the developers would have to change for tournaments for it to be a real possibility. So let's say they did that. Let's say they finally added the map seeding option in custom lobbies. Well, now you still have the completely unbalanced mess that is Dead by Daylight. The difference between the worst killer and the best killer is absolutely colossal, so naturally, you would have to either allow bans for certain killers or simply just allow killers like Nurse to not be played, as they would just be the sole victors of every tournament. The thing is, even if you allow for a banning system for, say, 2 killers and 2 perks or something like that, people will just choose the next best thing. If Nurse is banned, Spirit will be picked. If Spirit is banned, Freddy, Billy, Huntress, whatever, it will be picked. A ban system with this few choices, it just feels weird to me. In a game like Dota with hundreds of hero options, bans kind of make sense, but in Dead by Daylight, if you ban 2 or 3 killers, you're locking up half the actual viable choices, which is kind of weird. Even with a perfected ban system, which is certainly more possible than avoiding map RNG, now you have to contend with perks and add-ons. Do you directly ban perks like Decisive Strike and Unbreakable? Do you ban specific add-ons for a killer? Do you blanket statement no add-ons of this rarity? Well, that can't work because some killers' iridescent add-ons are worse than yellow add-ons, and vice versa. Ocaft is one of Huntress's best add-ons and it's yellow. Carburetor Tuning Guide makes Billy an absolute monster, and he doesn't even have any ultra-rare add-ons. I think you would have to manually ban individual add-ons and perks and just have a giant list of banned options. Hillbilly without add-ons would probably actually get destroyed in a tournament, but as soon as you throw on Tuning Guide and Doom Engravings, he becomes extremely dangerous even to the best players. That being said, his Light Chassis add-on, which reduces the penalty for bumping into objects, is the same rarity as the Tuning Guide, yet these two add-ons are not even on the same planet. So like I said, individual banning of specific add-ons is the only way to do it in my opinion. It will be a massive list, but I don't think you can just blanket statement a rarity and say you can't use these things. And the same goes for Survivor perks as well. Individual banning of perks is the only way to make this work, as perk rarity makes absolutely no sense. All in all, it ends up with a sloppy system where tournament players have to read the fucking Declaration of Independence to see what they can and cannot bring into the lobby. Still, this would be the most effective way to do it fairly. Technically, the developers could implement an in-game ban system where the host could disallow certain things on the fly. It would be the same system, but it would be in-game, and it would be infinitely cleaner and befitting, of an actual tournament. Finally, the picture on the wall is just Dead by Daylight is simply not meant to be played in an optimal fashion. It's just not. Everyone knows that if 4 skilled survivors play solely to win, they will almost never lose unless they go against like an equally skilled nurse or spirit or something like that. Other killers can succeed as well, but they begin needing specific builds and add-ons to reach the strength of the top two, which the tournament might not allow to begin with. If you look at any PC tournament this game has had, it's literally just the survivors versus nurse tournament, which is just really boring. And yeah, I understand console's a different story, but as soon as you disallow the strongest things killers can bring, which you kind of have to do unless you just want another nurse tournament, survivors will begin winning almost every match unless their map RNG is absolutely terrible. That's just the reality of the game. 4 coordinated survivors, even with just decent perks, communication, and the complete lack of will to just have fun, will win almost every time. And to me, that's okay because, you know, these groups barely exist and most people realize the game can't really be competitive at this moment. Can it eventually be? Sure, and I would love that. I can't stress that enough. I would love a competitive scene for this game. Just like I love the idea of that happening for, you know, Dark Souls and For Honor, and I put time and money into making those attempts. I would love someday if we could finally have tournaments that are accurate depictors of skill, in this game at least. And, you know, I commend anyone for trying to make that a reality, but sadly, it's mostly up to the developers to make that actually happen, not the players themselves. But that is mostly it. Those are my thoughts on tournaments in the game. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take it easy.